So basically, my dad and my brother passed away due to COVID. So
Oh no.
yeah, so
Sorry to hear
you
that.
know how it is. It's completely okay. I had to travel back temporarily because my mom was alone in Pakistan. So someone had to, be there to take care of the funeral process, the burial. Once we got done with that, then my mom actually moved to Australia because my other brother, so we were three brothers originally, now we're two. He's based in Australia. So he's an Australian citizen. When I told her, when I told my mom that, I'm done with the burial process, but I can't stay here due to, visa limitations and restrictions, just
Right, right,
again, one
right.
of the challenges that you face as an immigrant, I have to go back to the US. So she actually ended up moving to Australia with my brother, who's a lot, he's a lot older than me, so he's much well settled too.
Hello, folks. Thank you for watching another episode of Revenue Playbook Chronicles. I'm your host, Gene Lytle, and I have a special guest, Syed Mahad. He is the CEO of 514 Digital, which is a full stack digital marketing service agency located in Houston, Texas. Syed, hi, welcome. How are you? And are you calling from Houston today?
Yeah. Hey, Gene, how you doing? I'm doing really good, and thank you for having me right here in Houston.
Awesome, awesome. Is weather kind of normal in Houston at
It
this time of
actually
year?
was raining a lot for the past couple of days, but it's pretty sunny today. I'm actually working from home today, so it's pretty sunny. It's pretty hot today, but it was
Nice.
raining like intensely for the past few days.
Now, have you been doing some traveling lately, or is it all you've been pretty much at the office mostly?
I traveled to Georgia last month for a wedding,
Oh,
and then I went to Vegas 2 or 3 months ago. But that's pretty much it. Mostly in
okay.
Houston.
So Vegas, was that a fun trip or was that a working trip?
No, it was a fun trip. So basically, I had a friend come in. He was visiting all the way from Pakistan to the US, and you know how it is. We just connected in Vegas for a couple of days. Once you go
Nice.
to Vegas, you don't kiss and tell.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right?
It was
Yeah. Did your pocketbook come back a little lighter?
definitely a little bit because I had my wife with me. Yep. You know how it goes. If they go to a certain store, you can't say no.
Right, exactly, exactly. Well, I just want to say, Syed, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We welcome you. When I heard that you were going to be on the podcast, I got excited because you have a wealth of knowledge as it relates to marketing. So, what I kind of would like to kind of get from you, I've been asking a few of our podcasters is I want to hear your journey. I want to hear the ups, the downs. I made a comment, if you want to cry, you can, but I want to feel some pain because our listeners are learning that, there's success, success, and success, but how do they relate themselves to that? Because if they haven't enjoyed success yet, that they don't know what they're looking for. But a lot of them have gone through issues, and they need to know how to pivot. We need to open up those playbooks and those strategies of how to get them from point A to point B.
Got it.
So I'm going to let you start with your journey, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Got it. So, Gene, I'm an immigrant. So I'm just going to put it out there real quick. So I came to the US in 2017 and I came here for my master's. But before coming to the US, I already had an agency in Pakistan. But we were doing a lot of social media marketing, SEO, video editing, and just the entire brand strategy for probably one of the biggest brands in Pakistan, especially across hospitality, construction, and flooring. But the reason I came to the US was because my parents actually wanted me to, just pursue my master's. It's just every South Asian parent's goals, hopes and dreams that, my son went to the US and he got, went to like a really good university. So anyway, I came here in Boston. I did grad school. I did a master's in project management. Then I worked as a scrum master for 8 months before I pivoted back into the agency role. And then there was nothing wrong with that. I had a pretty decent job in Boston. I loved there. It's just really fast paced. But then again, I feel like the job portion wasn't for me. That was because I already had a team, and the entire office and the entire setup already up and going. And I just couldn't get into the 9 to 5 workspace in my head. So the reason I ended up moving to Houston was because At that time, I only had $6,000 to $8,000, and I knew that I wanted to start something completely of my own separately because the agency in Pakistan, it was split up between me and a couple of other founders. So we were dividing the revenue, but I wanted 514 Days still to be completely self-bound here in Houston, but still work with the team overseas in Pakistan as well.
Now,
So
was that agency in Pakistan still going?
yeah, that's still going. Yep, we're
Okay.
still working together. So they're just primarily focused on Pakistan-based brands, of course. But then again, we've scaled it to the point that we only work with a few brands, but they're like the biggest brands in Pakistan. Like for example, Sprite. So we're working with Sprite in Pakistan. So you get the idea.
Right.
But I knew that with $8,000 to $10,000, my money's gonna go a long way in Houston as compared to in Boston, and that was a really good pivot. Plus, I have a lot of family here because Texas has a lot of Muslim population. I'm not sure if you know, it's all Muslims cramped up here. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles. It just again helps you take the load off, and you're not
Right.
alone during your journey. So we came here, and we by that time I was selling on Amazon, so I started offering those services as well to other sellers on these freelancing platforms like Upwork or Fiverr. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that started working out really, really good. And one of the things I got really lucky on was I was able to quickly build a team from Pakistan who were, quickly able to join 514 Digital to just expedite the process of, getting those really good clients. So that's just like a really, really small gist of the journey. If you'd like to learn more, ask me any questions you want.
No. So you told me how you got started here. Was there any pain in Pakistan that you had to go through, or since you got here in 2017, did you have to go through the COVID? Was there issues there? Any type of downs in the market that you had to deal with?
Definitely, Gene. There are a lot of things. Off work. So basically, my dad and my brother passed away due to COVID. So
Oh,
yeah, so
sorry to hear
you
that.
know how it is. It's completely okay. I had to travel back temporarily because my mom was alone in Pakistan. So someone had to, be there to take care of the funeral process, the burial, and everything. Plus, once we got done with that, then my mom actually moved to Australia because my other brother, so we were three brothers originally, now we're two. He's based in Australia, so he's an Australian citizen. So when I told her, when I told my mom that, I'm done with the burial process, but I can't stay here due to, visa limitations and restrictions. Just
Right,
again, one
right.
of the challenges that you face as an immigrant, I have to go back to the US. So she actually ended up moving to Australia with my brother, who's a lot, he's a lot older than me, so he's much well settled too. But now there's no one in Pakistan at the moment. But that's one of the
Wow.
challenges. But it's an insane journey, Gene. If you're starting an agency, especially in today's world, it goes way beyond just technical skill. Ultimately, you cannot force, whether you're B2C or B2B, you cannot force anyone to pay money to you, right?
Right.
So, the outreach process never really stops. Uh, it's it's always better to organically build your authority as a founder and as a company, and that's one of the reasons I'm here on the podcast is because I wasn't focusing on myself. I was just too focused on building the company. So people knew 514 Digital, but no one really knew me. And then
Mhm.
now through these podcasts, people are getting to know, the actual me and the challenges and the journey of what I went through. But there's like a million challenges. If you want me to talk about them right now, I can go ahead. You want me to do that?
Maybe just talk about the top three that
Okay.
that really kind of hit home with you.
Okay. So number one was having extremely limited capital, and when you're starting with maybe $3,000 to $5,000, doesn't really do anything, to be honest. You have no money for ads, and since I was an immigrant, even in Pakistan, when I grew up, I just consumed a lot of Western media content, like a lot of movies, seasons, games. So I
Right.
already knew the way the US works. But then again, I had never, really lived here. So it was a huge challenge of trying to understand, the culture, the economy, the client mindset. Uh, every brand, every different vertical have, their own style and the way of working. And then again, having no contacts or, people that you can leverage it as well. So the moment you tell them that you're an immigrant, they were kind of like just, hesitating with working with you. And that's completely okay. I get that. I completely get
Right.
that. It's completely fine. And thank God we've built our portfolio to the point that we're able to build that trust factor. So having no capital and insane, that's a really big challenge. having no contacts is a really big challenge. And then, of course, being an immigrant, it was another really, really big challenge because I don't have just have to navigate the business. I have to navigate my, immigrant journey as well through, talking with attorneys and all that stuff happening in the background as well. So that's just happening. All of it is happening in parallel.
Do you feel like that hindered you quite a bit, or just something that it was kind of irritating you just had to kind of deal with?
I feel like it didn't hinder me as quite as much if I was a student. So basically, if you're a student, you have to, be sponsored by one of those companies like H-1B and, get those visas, right? And they're really expensive. And plus, they're like super rare now. The good thing for me was I transitioned from my student visa into a business visa. So, I showed the US government that, I already have this agency in Pakistan. Here's my portfolio. Here are my bank statements. Here are the clients that we're working with. And, I would, really appreciate the opportunity if you allow me to transition my, my student status into a business status because I want to, open a business here formally. And this is, of course, back in 2020. And
Okay.
I'm, of course, grateful to the government that they allowed me to do that. And so it was like really a nuisance more than a really roadblock challenge because I don't need a sponsor to stay here, which is really good for me.
So now you're free to go at any time,
Yeah.
back and
Yep.
forth.
Because I feel
So
kind of like sponsored myself. So that's a good thing.
now, because you were going through that in 2020 during COVID, did that hinder things also because they weren't allowing certain travel, or did you not have to travel during that time?
No. So my attorney recommended me at that time to not travel, but I had to travel when, of course, my dad passed away,
Right.
and then shortly 3 months later, my brother passed away too. So I had to travel 2 or 3 times back and
Hmm.
forth, and it's on the other side of the world, so it's like a 16-hour flight.
Eh,
But again, my attorney was really, really helpful, even though he advised me not to. He uh, he made me a travel document, which I showed at the border, and that helped me. Immigration didn't cause any sort of problem for me. But
Nice.
highly advised me not to travel because you remember that time it was really, really bad. There weren't any flights going out, so I traveled on one of those special flights. They were like double or triple the price, but of course
Oh
I had to go.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but just one of those challenges. Thank God that
Yeah.
time's passed.
So on your journey up to where you're at now, do you see certain trends or things that are pitfalls for you right now? For example, we might talk about AI, whether it's good or bad in your industry right now.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe we even incorporate the on again, off again war thing that could be creating issues, or just people willing to spend money right now at this time. So, any of that going on with you?
Okay, so for AI, and especially in an e-commerce and digital marketing business, it's either going really good for you or really bad, and it depends on how fast you've pivoted towards AI. So if you're in growth stage, and you're in like maybe a freelancer status or something like a really, really small level, I don't think it's looking good for you because no one's willing to pay you know, $200 or $300 or $500 to create a logo or, do stuff like that because they can completely do it with AI.
Right.
We've scaled ourselves to the point that since we're working with now bigger brands, AI hasn't caught up to that specific part yet. So, and we've pivoted really quickly across all departments of SEO, social media, creative, Amazon, to adjust ourselves to using that, those AI tools within those specific departments. And that helps you, again, stay on top of your game and doesn't make you as replaceable as you can be. So if you're just starting out, it's not gonna good for you.
Right. So, do you see a trend? Because you mentioned social media, maybe Google Ads or whatever. Is some things kind of out of date and some things are in right now
Okay,
for all
so
your different products?
depends on what department we're talking about because 5 and 4 offers design, development, social media marketing, creative. So it's all these separate departments. And we don't have a huge team. We just have 2 to 3 people across these separate departments. But then again, it's important how fast you're adapting. Like, for example, for social media, we use a tool called, everyone's using Claude Code. So we use Claude Code and we integrate with Dance, and it helps you just really create, statics and short form reels really, really, really fast. But then again, we don't want to rely on it completely, is because it completely kills the creative process. And that's
Mhm.
what we were really good at the first place. And we don't want to, we don't want to kill that. We don't want our animators or video editors just completely rely on AI, just turn their mind off, just do like a really basic prompt and just be like every other generic agency or freelancer out there. So we rely on AI, but not to the point that it just makes us really, replaceable or just kills original ideas. Because that's the whole point of an agency, right? If you're not
Yeah.
doing that, then what are your clients paying for? So you got to have a really, really good balance. But then again, you can't ignore AI as well. It's because it helps you really fast track the process and helps you give those ideas, and then let's give you like a really general baseline of what you can actually build towards. And
Yeah.
then again, all the tools vary very, very vastly depending on whether we're talking about web development or SEO or Amazon or Shopify and so on and so forth.
So, real quick, right off the top of your head, give me the best combination of AI tools to use right now.
Okay, so if you're into development, Claude Code's the way to go. Claude Code is absolutely exceptional, but then again, you got to be really, really careful on the back end of it. So if you're building a website, and if it's a 500 to maybe a $2,500 project, Claude Code's a good thing. But if it's anything above that, you still got to go custom. You can take as many inspirations and ideas as you want, but you can't really build a specific website within Claude. So I'll give you a more specific example. Like for example, we recently built a website called Elementor Bath, and we helped, and they had like hundreds and hundreds of products in which we had to upload to their website. They sell like luxury kitchen sinks and bathroom materials and tiles and
Okay.
all that stuff. So Claude helped us in part of mapping, and just we give them all the zip files of all the specific here are the like here are 300 tile pictures. Just upload them using these meta descriptions and meta titles, and just like that with one prompt, Claude Code's gonna just upload all of these to their website really, really quickly. So you don't have to do it manually. So
Right.
that's how it comes in. For social media, then again, I just mentioned we use Seed Dance. So you integrate that with Claude Code again, and you tell them that hey, this is a jewelry brand that we're working with. Here are a couple of creatives that we've already made using Illustrator or maybe After Effects or different tools that we use for social media. And what you can do is create me something create like a really 3 to 5 second animation, or maybe a hover effect that I can put on maybe their website or a logo or a GIF, and
Right.
Steve Dance helps you get that. But then again, it's like a million AI tools coming out every single day, and it's just physically impossible to adapt to all of them. So it's better to just focus on one and get really good at it instead of just trying to adapt to all of these millions of tools.
Right. So I haven't used Claude yet, and
You'll love it. You'll get
I-
addicted to it.
that started. Obviously, I've just started using Riverside for the podcast, which is interesting. But I use Manus and Perplexity, and I'm
Okay.
getting good at those. However, like you said, everything's changing weekly.
Yeah,
You need to
it's
stay
changing,
up on things,
going
So,
way too fast, to be honest.
right?
Even for us, like we're an agency, we're supposed to adapt to these tools really, really quickly. And even for us, it's a huge trouble. So I can only imagine for like a normal person who's not familiar with these tools, how, much of a pain it is. Plus, it's also gene impossible to pay for all of these tools. Then
Oh,
again,
of course.
it's better that you get used to one specific tool. So we used a lot of, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and ultimately we liked Claude the best. So, we just integrated Claude within our entire agency as well.
Now, I heard that you can combine them, right, to where some of them work within Claude. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
understanding that right?
Yeah, so you can just integrate your website or these specific tools using API, and that way, it can change it. It can change things in real time. So, for example, like let's assume we integrate our website within Claude Code, and we say, "Hey, Claude, what do you think of all my specific service pages? Do you think the URL is optimized or not? Or do you think what do you think of my meta title? How good do you think it is? Is there any specific keywords that I'm missing that I can add within those within the website? Is there any place where we can improve the internal linking and and so on and so forth? We can go on forever on this,
Very
but
nice.
it
It's
definitely helps you.
however detailed you want to get.
Yeah, but then again, it does need ultimately it's going to give you an answer, but again, it needs an experienced person's judgment to make sure that Claude's doing the right thing, because then again, it's still an AI. If you tell it it's wrong, it's going to say, "Hey, oh, I'm sorry, hey, I was wrong." So you got to be really
Right.
careful.
So let's talk about Claude for a second. You have a monthly fee that you got to pay to have Claude.
Hmm.
But as you are working within Claude, there's some other fees, like if you use too much or the usages, how does the usage work?
So it does limit out after a couple of prompts, but we pay $80 a month for it, which allows us to, because, since we have multiple clients in which we've created separate threads for all of them. So depends on, and then again, it also depends on the certain amount of project that you're working for. Like, for example, there's a web migration that we're handling for a really big jewelry brand, in which we're taking them from WooCommerce to Shopify. And that's, we're using a lot of Claude Code because it's an extremely, extremely complex build. It's a 7-8 figure brand here in Houston. They're selling luxury jewelry, and they're doing like $5-10 million a year. That's a lot of money, of course. And they've basically hit their ceiling with WooCommerce, and they want Shopify as tools and integrations that's going to help them take them to $20 or $50 million a year. So we are using, how we're using Claude, and there it is. We give them the entire website, and we say, hey Claude, I'm about to start a really big project in which I'm about to migrate, this website from WooCommerce to Shopify. So please guide me step by step and just make sure I don't miss out on anything. But then again, you still got to do it manually for really sensitive projects. But Claude does expedite the process really, really quickly, especially if you have the premium version. But you got to be really careful, and you have to have an experienced person who has already done this sort of stuff before. And of course, with an AI native, they just understand AI's language really, really quickly too.
Do you ever, so here's the part that I kind of try to understand is sometimes when you ask a prompt or whatever, they don't get it right. And so you have to say it again. Do they double charge you for the usage because you're doing the same job twice?
I don't think so. I don't think they charge you double for just having more prompts. It does limit out, I think, on maybe 300 to 400 prompts per day, but that's more than enough for us. Yeah, so that's more than enough for us to, for our entire day. And then again, we have multiple packages for this. So, it's not just me. I have Claude Code for other, team leads.
So they're sectioned off for
they're sectioned off.
clients.
Yeah, got maybe $500 to $600 a month, which is not at all. It's not a huge amount, depending on the workload that Claude's doing for us. So, which the clients don't know, of course. But then again, we make sure that once at the end, it has a completely human touch. So it doesn't look like it's completely done by AI, of course. But you just can't ignore AI at this point. It definitely helps you out, especially Claude Code. You should definitely give it a try. It's exceptional.
I might call you later on that one.
It's really, really good.
So here's an interesting outlook that I'm thinking about. Your client, does your client now have different expectations of you, knowing now that you're using AI to where maybe they don't have to pay as much because you're not spending as much time, or they expect better results or anything like that with AI? Has their perception changed?
I feel like it has actually worked out in our favor, and I'll tell you why. When clients reach out to us, especially regarding development or branding projects, they've already done the AI background research. So they come up to us and they say, hey, let's assume I'm about to start this pest control company, and I've come up with this a basic logo concept, and the mascot and the website layout using AI. What I want you to do is just make this a reality, and of course make this an original artwork. And what AI is limited is, for example, it makes you a really good logo for a Revenue Playbook, for example. But then again, if you say that, hey, I want the playbook to go a little bit down, or if you want to adjust it a little bit, AI is going to have a lot of trouble doing that. So it does need an actual designer's touch to come in and then and just tweak it up a little bit to present that final look. And then again, that's where we come in. Plus, I don't know if you know, Gene, but you're just able to tell really, really quickly that this logo or this website or just this overall product was just made with AI, and makes you look a little bit cheaper as compared to a premium brand on which who are paying the premium. So if someone's coming in and paying in $10,000 for, let's assume, a branding project, they're definitely not going to expect AI work, and they shouldn't. So that's where the original concept come in. You can play with AI to get some ideas, some basic concepts, but of course you have to be really original with your work. And we love doing that because we've been doing that for the past 6 to 7 years. That's just just an everyday at the office for us. So we love that.
So can't you prompt Claude Code to say, I want you to develop this website, but I don't want it to look like AI. I want it to look like a human did it. They can't do that?
It can do that. That's the best part. It can do it. But then again, once you hand over the website, what about the CMS, right? What about the backend? What about the
Right.
URL structure? What about the, the meta title, the descriptions, the content? And plus, you got to remember, if you were doing that, hundreds and thousands of millions of other people are doing the exact same thing. So it's going to
Mhm.
be, really generic when you add yourself to Google, right? And
Right.
and plus, AI writes a certain type of way, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT, you're able to tell. So you're using those that AI to populate your descriptions and all the stuff that you're putting in the website. Millions of other people are doing the same thing. So once you publish your website, Google's actually going to de-rank you instead of promote you, because Google's going to think, oh, just another AI project has been published. So you definitely want to avoid that in the first place.
Got it.
That's where
Very
custom work
nice.
come in.
Okay. So we brought you to what's going on there. Are there any other trends in the market that are affecting your business or maybe even helping your business?
I feel like it's helping our business, especially at the point that we are at now, because the clients who do come to us, they've already experimented with all sorts of AI, and they've hit the ceiling, and they know that for now they need a professional designer or a professional agency's touch to bring it to the next level. So, for example, an insurance company comes in and they say, hey, we also have Claude Code, we have the premium subscription, and we've come up with like a really clean layout, but then again, we don't have the final files for it. How do we make this within Illustrator? And you can't do that. You need, again, it has to be made from scratch. So that's where we come in. That sort of just makes us irreplaceable. And that's really good for us. But if you're at a smaller level, if you're starting out, it's not looking good because no one's going to pay you. People used to pay, $200 or $500. Like when I was starting out to, hey, make me a logo, or hey, make me a small email template that I can put on my website. So it's just that not looking good, because now Gemini or, Perplexity, all these tools can do it just in like a second. But then again, I hate building commodity brands. It's just how we are. We hate that certain AI look that AI creates. So even if AI does create something, we pull the file into Illustrator or any other soft tool that we're using. We give it our own specific touch to make sure that it looks like original.
That makes sense. That way, it always has that human touch, no matter what.
Exactly. That's really important. We don't want to. We don't want to lose that.
Yeah. So, are you happy with your agency now? Do you have some goals that you want to hit? And what has to happen in the market for you to be able to hit those goals?
I'm happy now, Gene, because I've ridden the past, the brutal 5 years in which you go through all sorts of turmoil of, whether you're deciding that whether this was the right decision or not, whether I should have, stayed in my job. Let's say I was earning $6,500 a month. That was more than enough for me, especially when I was single at that point. So I've kind of ridden past all of those things in which you don't just get tested. You get tested emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, of how much stress your body can take. So thank God, the brutal years are past, but definitely we're still not at that point where, where we need to be, especially personally. Because one of the things that I did a really big mistake was I never focused on building a personal brand. And if you look any big, one of the biggest digital marketers in the world, like Gary Vee or Neil Patel or, other really, really big people, they'll always tell you that the biggest challenge that, you cannot avoid is building a personal brand. You have to do it. You have to build those followers organically, and it's okay even if it takes you 5 or 10 years, but then again, it's going to give you that boost that that's going to just differentiate you from other generic agency owners out there. But it's going to help build that trust factor as well. So if you're just starting it out, what I would do is I would just niche down on one specific thing instead of offering a number of services that is going to make you look really weird.
Yeah, I think picking a niche that is good, that you're familiar with, is very helpful by
Yeah.
doing
Yep.
that. Yeah. What niche did you start out with, and where are you at now?
Okay, so I started out again with social media SEO, and that's because we already had a really good portfolio from Pakistan. So we used that portfolio. I used to say, hey, check out these brands that we're working with. It's one of the biggest, let's assume, restaurants or flooring company or construction companies within Pakistan. I know it's not a US brand, but then again, you'll get an idea of my design sense and aesthetic. And that would just help the first few brands that we started working with to just give us like a test project, and we'll say, hey, we'll work with you a month for free for social media. So then again, you'll get how we're doing completely for free. We'll post a certain number of statics and short form reels for you, and we'll do your SEO as well. And of course, we don't guarantee anything, but we'll try our best to rank you within the first page of Google within 6 to 10 months. And back then, there wasn't any Google AI overview or GEO or stuff like that. We'll just Google, you'll just standard SEO. SEO is also completely, pretty mixed now. But that help me bypass the brutal process of having no portfolio, right? But if you have no portfolio, you're in a world of trouble. You just gotta niche down really, really quickly and maybe do a couple of projects for free. And I don't know if you have the temperament to do that, but you got to do it, especially if you're starting out on these freelancing platforms. Any other advice I would give would be to also make sure you do shortlist the client really well, and you can do that by checking out what's the average, how much hourly do they pay. Try not to be greedy for money initially. Make sure you check out their hiring rate. It needs to be above 60%, so you know that this job post not going to be abandoned, because you got to bid on these jobs. You're spending your own money just to stay on top of the job that you're trying to get. So you don't want your money to be wasted, right? Especially when you're really, really limited. And I get that, because I wasted a lot of money initially just to bid on top of these projects that I still wouldn't get, because I wouldn't realize that this client's hiring rate is maybe less than 20%. So if they post 10 jobs, they only hire for one or two jobs, and that's of those eight jobs get abandoned.
Wow.
But my money would be wasted. So I wouldn't want this to happen to other freelancers or initially small agency owners out there.
So I heard from another guest, but I can't remember what he said. But he said something that he has a tool, an AI tool that he can, when he's gets a new client,
Okay.
he's able to look at all of their competitors, what they're doing online, and their ads, and what's working for them and what's not. Do you know what that is? What that tool is?
Yeah, of course. But then again, that tool again varies department to department. Like for example, for Amazon, we use a tool called Helium 10. It's probably one of the best tools for Amazon research. So what you do is, all you have to do is just copy the ASIN of your competitor and type it within Helium 10. It's going to show you all the specific, and competitors, what are they selling, what are they ranking for, what keywords are they ranking for, what's their bidding strategy, and and so on and so forth. For SEO, we use a lot of SEMrush and Ahrefs. So then again, you post that specific keyword that you want to get ranked for. Like for example, hey, we're trying to rank for marketing agency Houston, right? And we are top ranked locally, but of course we want to be ranked in the entire city of Houston. So what we do is we take marketing agency Houston, or we type it within SEMrush, and then we ask SEMrush that, why is the number one, like the agency who's actually a number one, what are they doing? What's so special about them? And of course, there's a lot of things that goes into it, like how old is their domain, how big is their website, how many blogs are they publishing, how many ads are they running, and so on. And so it's like a million things. But there's tools for everything. Even at this point, Gemini Pro is really good at this. Even if you ask Gemini or Claude Code, it's gonna do a really basic level competitive research for you too. That just helps, especially for people who don't want to go into really complex tools.
I think that is amazing.
That's amazing, right?
If you don't have a plan, you have a tool that can make the plan for you.
Yeah, especially within Amazon, Gene, because the clients who are working with us, they're ready to spend $100K, $250,000. That's a lot of money. So every decision that you make, it's got to be data backed. It's not just, I'm finding a random product, just slapping your label on it, and sourcing it from China and just selling it on Amazon. That used to work maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It doesn't anymore. So you got to have a really, really advanced strategy in place, which should be completely data backed, to make sure that you're going to survive for the next 5 or 10 years when you're about to sell on these platforms, because you're about to spend so much money, right?
Right, exactly. So what is your ideal client? If you were going to wave a magic wand or snap your finger and says, I want this kind of client.
Okay.
What kind of client is best for you right now?
Our ideal client would be someone who is selling on Amazon and other marketplaces. So like, for example, they're selling in Hairbrush on Amazon, but they also have, their own website, in which they're selling through their website as well. And then they're selling on these other marketplaces like Walmart and, eBay and Etsy and, obviously small other websites. So where we would come is we would become their single, end-to-end marketplace partner, in which we'll handle their Shopify website, their SEO, their social media, their creative, their entire brand strategy, their Amazon store. So they don't have to hire, 4 or 5 separate agencies or 4 or 5 separate freelancers. Just one single team who's extremely accountable and is constantly communicating with each other. And that's like a really, really ideal client for us. And they're at least on maybe 7 to 8 figures already. So, they're not just starting from scratch because we've scaled ourselves to that point. So, there's like a slightly mature stage.
So the person just starting out would be a heck of a lot more work than someone that's already established.
Yeah, but we do work with founders as well, as but we're selective, a little bit selective on that. It depends on, of course, how much capital they have and how passionate, they are about their startup. Because it takes an insane amount of effort to, build a brand, whether you're selling on Amazon or whether you're selling, a physical retail store. So we got to make sure that that person is ready to and understands the nuances of businesses and understand, if, like, for example, if they ask us questions like, hey, am I going to be profitable in 2 months? You'll start to know that, they're not at that level yet. They've never done a business before. It kind of like just limits our agency of, maybe this might end up causing more trouble for us rather than,
that's where I'm at right now.
that's completely okay. That's just completely fine. For branding projects, we love that is because it still allows us to be really creative from scratch. So, if someone comes in and say, we like to for you to create our brand guidelines, our logo, our typography, our color palettes, and our website, we would love to do that because that just allows us to create something from scratch. And that's something, we're super proud of, and we love doing that.
Sweet. Okay, so now here's that one question I like to ask all my guests, that if, and it can come from anywhere, it can be personal, it can be business, it doesn't matter. But if our listeners got kind of derailed and was doing something, and they didn't hear the whole entire podcast, but you wanted to be able to make sure that they got one message out of today, something that if they forgot everything else, that you could leave them with this message, what message would that be?
Here's what I would say. I'll try to make this short. First of all, do so much work that it would be unreasonable for you to not be successful. Have very little to no expectations if you're starting something of your own. It doesn't matter if it's a coffee shop or an agency or whatever you're starting out. Try to do everything yourself initially, whether it's outreach, accounting, taxation, is because you'll get to know those, all of those departments separately. So when you get to, hiring stages, when you're hiring someone, you'll know whether that person is telling the truth or, it's going to make your job a little bit more easier. Niche down on one specific thing. Try not to, say, I offer social media, SEO, all these services at once, unless you have unless you have a lot of capital and you're able to hire really good personnel, which most people aren't. So that's completely okay. Try to keep it really, really lean, especially if you live here in the US, because the cost of living is absurd at this point. So, and that's why we work out as well, because a lot of our agency people are just abroad. So that keeps us, again, on a really lean model as well. So maybe something else what I would push in is try to collaborate with people who are better than you. Try to get them to, come in and guide you, as that's completely okay. There's no harm in asking questions. Do a lot of prospecting, which includes email, social, ads, and, depending on your specific budget. Get used to coming in front of a camera. It's also just a norm at this point. So, you got to come up with, start building your own personal brand on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and other platforms. Consume as much knowledge as you can. There's no excuse anymore. You don't need to pay for any sort of course or anything. All the data, infinite data, is present on YouTube or, these free course like Coursera, other websites. Try to get certified for something. For example, if you're offering Google Ads as your services, try to get certified. It's going to add that level of, layer of trust for the client. But try not to overcharge initially, especially when you're starting out. It's completely okay. Also, don't quit your 9-to-5 job if you're doing a job. Start, either get up really early in the morning to work for your dreams, or after maybe 5 or 6 p.m., depending on how you like it. Like, for example, for me, I used to do it after. So it depends, again, on what type of mindset do you have. Always spend less than what you earn. There's a lot of things that you come in with. Have a really good relationship with God. You'll realize when you go down the founder journey that it's not just technical skill. You can be the most, technical person in the entire world, but you still might not get the project. You might go 6 or 7 rounds of interviews with a really big client, and they still might end up dropping you. And that's completely okay. That's fine. It's nothing to be, ashamed of. You just got to pick yourself up and, prepare for the next interview. So you gotta ask God of what you want really, really passionately. And then, work your ass off to make sure that you back that up with strategy and data. Not just keep on asking and not doing anything.
Right? Exactly.
And be ready to be tested like never before. It's going to cost you a lot of things. It's going to cost you your friendships. maybe your relationships, depending on how good you want to be. But luckily, I have a partner who's really, really supportive of what I do. So she doesn't mind if I work, 12, 14 hours every single day, maybe six days a week. So she knows that if I want to get to a certain place, I got to go through it. And everyone has to go through it if they want to go, regardless of how much capital you have. But I actually feel that if you have a lot of capital, it actually sometimes goes against you because you're not working as hard as you need to be. If you don't have a lot of money, you know that you're on the edge and you have that fear factor in you, right? And that constantly keeps you awake at night. So you to keep on working. So I can go on forever.
Perfect. Well, I kind of like the comment you made that, if you have a lot of money, you might miss a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, but I don't have a lot of money, so I'm not going to miss anything.
That's good. Just take it slow. Like don't start
Exactly.
spending thousands of dollars on ads initially. Just take it really, really slow. Just build yourself organically, and then start with maybe $5-10 a day on Instagram, and build yourself slowly. You'll see the results organically.
Perfect. So how would our listeners get a hold of you if they wanted to find you and be able to see if maybe they can qualify to do business with you?
Okay, so you can reach out to us via our website. It's 514digitalco.com. We have a complete form there that you can fill out. You can also call our business line, which is 713-487-7168. You can also visit our office here in Houston. So, we have a physical location here. You can always visit our office and just, if you have a certain query that you have in mind, you can talk to us in person. So, and you can also book a free meeting with us to our website too. So we have all sorts of ways to, accommodate clients. And depending on with the introductory call, we get to realize whether if they're a good fit for us or not.
Perfect. Well, Syed, thank you so much for being on our show. We are excited to have you, and I'm excited to maybe talk to you offline to see how maybe I can push my business up a little bit.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching another episode of Revenue Playbook Chronicles. If you like our content, please like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever button you guys are watching us on. And I will see you on the next one.